So for our final project, we're going to do a Christmas card. And this Christmas card is going to have all our kind of tricks going on. This is kind of more of an advanced when you've taken some additional steps. So we're going to be heat embossing, which is, it's one of my favorite things to do with stamping. So we're heat embossing. We're coloring with our alcohol markers, which are brand new. Those are the Stampin' blends. And we're going to be die cutting out of the Big Shot. So the Big Shot's when you really want to take it up to the next step and you get all these die cut shapes. Die cut shapes are steel rule dies that it will cut paper, and you run them through the Big Shot machine, and I'll show you that when we get to it. So let's start with this project. So move this to the side. And so I'm starting with my card base. So my card base is 4 1/4 by 11. Fold that in half and score it with my score tool. Move it to the side. Now I'm using the Merry Music DSP and Real Red. And this are going to be our back panels. And I'm going to attach these two together. And these two are going to get attached to my card base. And you can see, you really then only see the outline of the Real Red. So that means I can kind of use the space in the middle to do some of my die cutting. But I'm not doing that. All right, so set this to the side. Now I'm going to take my DSP and my Real Red cardstock, and we're going to attach these two together with snail. Okay. And I'm going to set that aside. All right, so we'll start with some of the die cutting. So this is our glimmer paper. Ooh, so shiny. So it's got kind of like a sandpaper feel. So it's rough. I want to die cut this with one of our detailed dies. It has a paper backing. So to make it go through the die cutter easier and cut easier, I'm just going to peel the paper off the back. It's going to make it a lot easier. So let's get my Big Shot. This is my Big Shot die cutting machine. It comes with a couple of plates that allow me to adjust the height for what I'm doing. See, and they have instructions right on them of what you use to cut them. And then these are cutting plates. They are clear plexiglass. They are designed to take the beating so that your machine doesn't and your plate and your dies don't. So they will come perfectly clear and brand new, and they are meant to get ugly. That's their job. I know everyone who gets a new set of plates is always calling me up going, I've done something wrong, I'm marking my plates. You're supposed to mark your plates. That's what happens. So I'm taking that gold glimmer paper, and I'm taking a basic black piece. I'm going to put those here, and I'm going to cut, get my dies here. So I have an outline die of my lantern. That is going to go on the basic black. Slide that in here. And I've got the detailed lantern on the glimmer paper. So we're going to run these through. So I make a sandwich with the dies and the paper in the middle. I push that through the Big Shot, run it through. There we go. So now when I take this out, there we go. Take this one first. This will be the easier one. So here is my shape of my lantern. And then here comes the big reveal with the gold. I'll put this in here. I'll save that. I'm sure I can find some other use. I'll get a little pokey tool here and pull these out. There we go. Oops. There we go. So there is the beginning of my detailed lantern. And I'm going to take just this pokey tool and poke out. You can see on the back all the little cuts. So I'm just going to poke these all out. All right. And there we go. Get all these little pieces out. Oh, come on. Oops. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, they are just not agreeing with me. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's, okay. So now I'm going to want to attach this, the glimmer gold diamond, gold dazzling diamond, the gold glimmer paper to my black. So I'm actually going to just use my snail, and some people like to use the liquid glue. I am good with the snail. I'm going to stick it in the corners. I like to just take my pokey tool and anywhere that the glue is showing through and it's not, okay, I'm going to line this up. There we go. So there is our lantern. Let's put that to the side and let's stamp. So this is Whisper White, and we're going to cut or stamp our images that we're going to color. So I'm going to use Memento ink. Memento ink is the ink you want to use when you're coloring with alcohol markers. And let's just put our images down. So I have the bow. Remove my, there we go. I have my leaf, and I'm going to cut that 3 times. Three, and then I have my candle, and I stamp that too. There we go. So I'm gonna let those sit for a minute. Our inks dry really fast, but when I'm coloring with alcohol, I want them to be really, really dry. So I'm gonna set that aside for a minute, let that dry, while I pull out my next. So the greeting is Merry with Christmas cheer, but I don't want to use that whole thing. So I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to heat emboss first. So I'm going to say this is an embossing buddy, and it has a little bit of powder in it, and what it's going to do is keep static cling from attaching. So I will show you why that's important. So I do want it to look powdery. That's okay. This is called Versamark ink. It is a clear watermarking ink. So you'll be able to see the words, but it's slow drying. So it's going to allow me to put the powder on for the heat embossing. So I'm going to stamp that, and you can kind of see the greeting. I'll close this up. And so you can see the greeting on there. But I'm going to, this is my white embossing powder. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to really just stick in my greeting in here and get it covered, and then knock off the excess, and there you can see the greeting. So now at the moment it will fall right off if I touch it because it is just powders. So I'm going to hit this with my heat gun, whoops, and knock things over on my craft desk. So I'm going to put this down below for a minute to warm up a second before I hit it. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to use a bone folder because this does get hot. This is much hotter than like a hairdryer. So I don't want to keep my fingers near it. So I'm just going to put heat on it until it turns shiny. And it's all of a sudden that powder starts to melt and everything gets shiny. And it'll take a second and then all of a sudden it'll just go. All right. So I always like to double, triple check. Yep, looks like I got it all. I'm going to let that sit for a minute to cool, so if I stuck my finger in it, it would leave my fingerprint. So let's move all this. Okay, so let that cool. I'm going to come back. I'm going to hit this with my heat gun. This is the ink, just to make sure it's super dry. So when I hit it with the alcohol markers, it does not smudge at all. Just want to make sure it's super dry. So, oops. These are our new alcohol markers. They're called Stampin' Blends. We have 12 colors right now, and each color comes in a light and a dark, and these coordinate with Stampin' Up's core colors. So right now I'm working with Daffodil Delight, and I have dark Daffodil Delight and light Daffodil Delight. Both markers, all markers come, they have two nibs. They have two ends, a nib end and a brush end. I'm going to just work with the nib end. And you can see there's a small line and a thick line. So you can always tell the nib is on the small and the brush is on the thick. And our caps lock in with each other. And these barrels are also square, so it won't roll off your desk. So I am going to start with my candle, and I like to work light, dark, light. So I'm going to start with my light, and I'm going to color the candle. Then I'm going to add highlighting and shadowing with the dark. So the first thing I want to do, I kind of like to go around the edge. And then there we go. All right, so there's my first layer. Now I'm going to go add some shadow with the dark. And I'm just going to do a few lines like this. And that's all I'm going to do with the dark. Now I'm going to go back with the light, and I'm going to blend where those two meet. And that's all I'm going to do. My candle is done. The base of my candle. Now I'm going to do the flame. So I'm going to put away my light daffodil. I'm going to keep out my dark daffodil, and I'm going to get dark pumpkin pie, which is our orange. And again, I'm going to work with the nib, and I'm going to color the flame with the dark daffodil first. Now, all I'm going to do is add a line of the pumpkin pie along one side with the pumpkin pie. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not even going to blend that. If you can see that I've added that little line. All right, I'm going to put these colors away. All right. So now let's do the sprigs. I have 3 sprigs. You want to work, you don't want to do large sections, so I'm going to do 1 sprig at a time. I've pulled out now the old olive, light and dark. So I'm going to color all the first sprig with the light old olive. All right, now I'm going to go through and just add a little line along the bottom of each sprig with the dark old olive. Now, like before, I'm going to take my light and I'm just going to add a line at the joint or where the light and the dark meet. And that's my sprig. That's all I'm doing. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing. Oh, and I hit dark first. Not paying attention. And that's fine. Some people like to do dark then light. I prefer light, dark, light, light, dark, light. Okay, so now and we'll just blend, blend, blend. And I'm not even doing a lot of blending. These are small images. There again, dark again. We'll just add a bunch of light. That's okay. Not paying attention. I always say there are no mistakes in paper crafting. It's just room for an embellishment or a new design. It's always a challenge how to hide the last mistake. Okay. There we go. All right, so there's our sprigs. I'm done with the green. And now we're going to do our bow in cherry cobbler, red. And you want to make sure, because these are alcohol markers, they'll dry out, so you want to make sure you hear the snap when you close the markers. So again, light and dark. I'm going to start with the light, and I'm going to color each section, individual circling of the bow individually. So let's start with this side. Okay, so now I'm going to take the dark cherry cobbler and I'm going to put some shadowing by the bunch where the middle of the bow is and along the far end. And all I'm going to do is we're going to add there we go. Oop. Now I'm going to take my light and I just want to blend that edge. And now I'm just going to repeat on this side, light. You can see. All right, and again, shadow in the center. And then I'm going to add just a couple lines here. Just going to kind of make the bow look like it's really quite curved. Now I'm taking the light again, and I'm going to blend those two spots. All right, so now I'm going to take the light. Let's do the center. And I'm just going to make like an L along the edges. And then just go over that edge with the light. And that's where I'm going to stop. So now I'm going to do the inside of the bow. Again, starting with light. And let's see, what is this one? I'm just going to draw a line along the top edge where there might be a shadow. And I think I'm just going to leave it. I kind of want that dark edge. Now I'm going to do the other side with the light. And again, I'm just going to draw a line. There we go. Now we're going to do the tails. Okay. And I'm going to draw a line right where the top of the bow meets, and then shade that in a bit into the other tail, and then repeat over here. And add a line right where the bow meet, and then blend that in. Done. Now, for the bow, because the reds are quite dark, I'm going to take our color lifter, which is not an eraser, but it will move color away. So I'm going to take that on the bow, and we go right along here where I think the light would shine on the bow, and I'm just going to make a few marks across that. As that dries, it will lighten up. I'm actually going to do the same thing here on my candle, where I think it might lighten the most. And then we're going to die cut these out too. Bring the Big Shot back. Let's see. And let's get the guys. So, candle and a sprig. And we do have a magnetic platform, but I like to go old school, and I'll use a Post-it note to hold it down. All right, let's start with the candle. Just keeps them from shifting while they're going through the Big Shot. And then, so I will have to go through multiple passes. Oh, I got my sandwich. Hold on. All right. So we'll have to make a couple passes to cut out all the sprigs, since there's only one sprig die. Okay. So remove the bow and the candle. And we'll remove those dies. By the way, I have a magnet board next to me here so that I don't lose any of these steel dies. Oh, I need that one back though, because we're going to go through again. All right. There we go. And then we got to do it one more time. And one last time. All right, so we'll move those pieces all nice and die cut over to the side for assembly. Now, all right, so now my Christmas cheer is on, and I'm just using my finger. I'm wiping away that powder we put on first to keep it from, otherwise, if I hadn't put that embossing buddy on, there'd be a lot of little additional white flecks all around the saying. So I only want Merry Christmas. So I'm just going to take my paper snips and cut them out. Okay, so there's Merry. And then Christmas. All right, there's my Merry Christmas. So let me grab a ribbon. Okay. All right, so now we're ready for final assembly. So we have our card base. So what I'm doing is we're gonna wrap some ribbon. So I gotta get my utility scissors for our striped ribbon here. I'm just gonna kind of measure this out a bit. I'll show you what I'm doing. That side. And I got some gold. This is gold, 1/4 inch gold ribbon, and I can use my paper snips with that. All right. So I am going to get my, so this is a silicone mat, and I'm using it so that I can apply glue to this without getting glue onto my work surface. So I'm going to take my snail, run it along my gold ribbon. Oops. And the snail's a bit bigger, so I'm going to pick this up and just kind of wrap. Oops. There we go. And I want to attach this gold ribbon down the middle of my stripe ribbon. All right, so now I'm going to wrap that around the bottom of my card. And this is still just the red and the DSP. I have not attached to the card base just yet, and you'll see why. So again, I'm going to take actually I'm going to use fast fuse, because fast fuse will work better with adhering ribbon to your card base. So there's that. So again, I'm going to trim this. It doesn't need to be that long. I just want to wrap it around. Okay. So I'm going to take a little more fast fuse, put it right there, and I'm going to bend that over. Oops, we need to do the gold too. There we go. So there is my ribbon, and now I'm going to trim, let's see, the gold. There we go. All right, so now I'm going to attach this to my card base with dimensionals, because this ribbon is a little thick right here, and if I try to attach it with snail, it would leave a bump. So we're just going to attach it with dimensionals. Dimensionals are a foam double-sided adhesive spots of hexagons here, or octagons. I think octagons. Yep. So peel these off. Remove the backings. All right. And we're going to attach that. There we go. So now we are going to attach, oops, I still got more backings. All right, so now I got my lantern. Get the pieces off there. So again, this I'm going to attach with dimensionals. So we're going to attach some to the bottom. There we go. And then a few to the top, because I want it to straddle the ribbon. Okay. There we go. And it's going to go right there. So here's my candle. I'm going to attach a little snail to the back of that. I'm going to stick that just below the die cut. All right, so now my sprigs, I am going to take glue dots, and I am going to attach them around the card. So it's easier with glue dots is to take what you're attaching, attach it to the glue dot, peel it up off the glue dot. Now the glue dot's on there, and I attach this where I want it. I'll attach this here. So I'm going to put this next sprig here where the ribbon is, but the glue dot won't attach to the ribbon. So I'm going to put the glue dot on top of the sprig and attach it to the bottom of the lantern. So I'm going to turn this over, attach this here. So now my glue dot is on the top. I'll slide it under and then push down. So now it's attached to the back of the lantern. And then this last one, and attach it to the back, and I'm going to stick it on this side when I have it going over the ribbon here. So now for my bow, I'm going to put my bow here, and I am going to take mini dimensionals, which I belong. I'm going to take some mini dimensionals and I'm going to attach them to the outside of the bow. Oops. And these are the same as the other dimensionals, they're just smaller. So these should straddle and attach to the DSP on either side. Because sometimes trying to glue something to the glimmer paper can be tricky. So we're just going to go right over it. There we go. So I'm going to keep those mini dimensionals out, and I'm going to use them to attach my greeting. So there we go. Let's see, we'll do this one here. Flip Mary over and add Mary. It only needs one. There we go. And attach the Mary. I like to use my pokey tool as a placer. I find I get a lot of use out of it with using the dimensionals as well as the glue dots. So there's our third project card. Oops. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the 3 make and takes. Again, any $35 purchase, I will mail you these 3. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the workshop. Please contact me if you have any questions. And remember to fill out the door form. Thank you.